What is up, my friends? You are welcome along to Monday night's late night agenda. As always, we have a lot to go through over the next, well, who knows, however long we're on. We're going to be talking about the situation with Mohamed Salah, which has got lots of column inches today, right across the board. We're going to be talking about what signings we may expect under Arne Slot's leadership, although apparently he's not going to have all that much to say with regards to transfers. We're going to look at some of his transfers that have worked out for him at Feyenoord, and we're going to talk about a few other bits and pieces as well. So, as always, we want to know your thoughts, and let's get stuck into it. How are we all? So, I guess the first story we're going to start off with tonight is the one about Mohamed Salah, and I don't know where you guys sit on this, but it's a very confusing one for me. We're seeing lots of bits and pieces about Liverpool not wanting to let Salah leave this year. I have to say, I'm a little bit sceptical about some of these stories. And we're going to go through them. We're going to discuss what's been said. We're also going to confirm, like we have done, that the contracts have been all done and dusted for Arne Slot. The paperwork has been filed and that he will be announced at some point this week, according to Fabrizio Romano. We've loads to go through. So, I guess we look at this in chronological order. Is probably the best way to go through it. One, let me just say from the very beginning, I don't believe that he's going to stay or be given a new deal. I don't. That's my own opinion on it. But we have to report on it because they are from credible sources. So, I guess we'll get stuck into that. Where's the first time this came up today? Well, David Ornstein, I guess, had an exclusive where he said Liverpool expect Mo Salah to stay and are been planning for him for at least one more campaign. The 31-year-old has given no indication of wanting out and his contract will be addressed in due course. Saudi view is Salah intends to remain at Liverpool next season. So then we had another story come out, and this time it was Paul Joyce. And Paul Joyce said, Mohamed Salah is expected to stay at Liverpool next season. Richard Hughes will lead talks on a fresh deal for Salah before the forward's contract ends in the summer of 2025. That was then followed up with, the intention is that Salah, who turns 32 in June, will have an important role to play in the club's future under Arne Slot. That was kind of, I don't want to say undermined, but if you go and read through more of this, there's a few bits and pieces that have come out over the last few hours that have seemed to dampen this down a little bit. There's one story from Paul Joyce that said, there is little belief that Mohamed Salah wants to go to Saudi Arabia at this stage of his career. And finally, we end up with a piece from David Lynch, yes, it was David Lynch, who said, it would be unwise to suggest that an extended stay in its entirety is set in stone, not least because of the many variables outside of Liverpool's control that will come into play. The first thing is that Salah is understood to want a contract extension of at least a year, which, considering his £350,000 per week wages and the hints of decline this season, is far from a formality. For their part, Liverpool are open to the idea of wanting another year and letting a player who has served them well depart on a free transfer, as has been the case for a number of stellar servants down the years. Yet, if a new deal isn't forthcoming, you wonder whether Salah would wish to leverage his as yet undetermined standing to seek greater contractual certainty elsewhere. There is no question that the 31-year-old is keen to continue playing at the highest level for as long as possible and considers himself more than capable of doing so. So a lot to unpack there, right? You've got Liverpool clearly briefing today that their plan is to sit down with Mo and see what we can figure out. I am just very, very sceptical of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards giving Mohamed Salah more money. Now, if Mohamed Salah is happy to stay for another year on the wages he's already on, I guess that's another conversation. To me, this just feels like posturing, and it feels like controlling the narrative. And I still believe that there will be something this summer that will cause a furore over Mohamed Salah's contract situation. So let me know what you guys think. I mean, I've no problem if Mo hangs around. It's not my decision to make. If the club decide that they're happy to sit down and try and negotiate with him, fair enough. But I'd be very surprised if we see him get the same money or a pay increase. I was also surprised, though, to hear from David Lynch that Mohamed Salah would would look for at least a year. I thought he'd want more than that, in all honesty. I mean, if he's asking for a year's extension, I think that's reasonable. You know, a year is not too big a financial commitment for Liverpool to hand out there. Letting them leave for free, I don't know how I feel about that. You know, if Liverpool decide that they want to just see how this season goes, it's a dangerous game. But if you're willing to look at the end of that and say, okay, one more year with Salah, if we can't agree an extension with him within that year, he leaves for free. I think that would be a little bit foolish from us, in all honesty, but I did warn all the way through this that I don't like that we're in this situation, that the club have 1 year to go on Trent's deal, on Verge's deal, and on Salah's deal. It makes me nervous. So I guess we'll start there tonight and see how you guys feel, and we'll work back through it all, and you guys can have your say. Sell him, it's the right time. Salah gone, please. Look, there was a poll, because you know we had our own poll here, and we asked, do you think it's time to sell Salah, yes or no? And 70% of you guys said yes. Well, Sky conducted their own poll today, and it's still open, I think, on the Sky app. And at the time that I voted, it said, should Mohamed Salah stay or go? That was the poll that Sky put up. I voted in it. I voted go, because I think it is time for him to move on. And 71% of the people who voted on the Sky app, it doesn't tell you how many now, but 71% of people who voted believe it is time for Mohamed Salah to go, and 29% believe he should stay. Now, of course, this could be skewed by opposition fans who are wishing him away, and that's absolutely possible. But what I can say is, it does kind of tally with the poll that we did here, asking you guys, who are mainly Liverpool fans, what you think should happen. So, from that point, I don't know where we're at here. I would feel letting him leave on a free would be the height of stupidity if you allowed him to go next summer. But I guess at the same time, if we can't agree an extension with him, then it's sell or he runs down his deal. It gets tricky, and this is what I've said all along. I don't like the club doing this, letting us get to this position. Now, we'll talk about this tonight as well, but we also are going to talk about the vote that's going to take place in the Premier League about spending and how that's going to change from the profit and sustainability rules to this anchoring system. And we're going to talk about that tonight as well and give you guys a bit more information on what this new system is, who's voted for it or who's voting against it, and what it entails. So we'll go through all of this tonight, as well as, of course, transfer talk. But we have to start off with a big topic tonight, which is, of course, the Mohamed Salah stuff. Right, here we go. Right, first super chat from Pranav. How are you, bro? Thank you very much. Said, thing is, I don't think Mo himself wants to go to Saudi yet. Where else? PSG might be the only other option, so he may well end up staying. So, I don't disagree with much of what you've written there, Pranav. I do think Mohamed Salah can reasonably look at Saudi Arabia and think, nah, too good. I'm too good to go there yet. I don't think any of us would debate that. Do I think he can still deliver at Liverpool? Unsure is the honest answer. But do I think he's too good to give up playing in Europe and go and play in Saudi? Yeah, probably. I do think he's still levels above that, and I still think he has some to give in his career. I just don't know how comfortable I feel personally with Liverpool investing more money into an extension. But, you know, I'm happy to go with whatever the club want to do. You know, I'm contrary to what some people think, I have no wish to get Mo away from the club. My feeling is, if I was in Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards' position, I would look to sell. But I'm happy to support whatever the club decide to do. Alright, Craig, how are you? First time checking in on a stream live after a busy weekend. So with slots 4-2-3-1 and a heap of attacking mids, do you reckon Arne could ship some out? Jones or Harvey, maybe? I would imagine there will be some movement over the summer. We're losing Thiago, Matip, the obvious ones that we've spoken about. Will some go out? I think there's big decisions to be made on what happens with the likes of Tyler Morton, as an example, Fabio Carvalho, both on loan at Hull. We've seen stuff about Nat Phillips from a defensive perspective, interesting leads. He may go. Reece Williams, who would expect Liverpool to look for a move for him. Some interesting stuff, though, is what happens between the whole Kelleher and Allison situation. Do we keep both? Do we allow Kelleher to go? Do we allow Allison to go if he wants to go? And again, I hope that isn't the case. It's really difficult to know, Chris, because first and foremost, we have to accept that it looks like Arne Slot is coming in as a head coach and that he won't really have too much of a say over transfer policy at the club. So hard to know what players he's going to want to move on. I think that'll come down to Edwards and Hughes probably. Danielson Granados, thank you mate for your super chat, you're very kind. So I've been okay with Salah out since last year, but 8 months ago in training vid showed Salah was the most fit player. He was also pretty decent earlier. Just wondering if we've been underplaying his injury. It's a very fair question, mate. It's a very fair question, and it's one that I've been asking myself over the last few days when I've been thinking about this. Truth is, I guess we don't know the definitive answer to if Mohamed Salah's slump in form is because of overplaying, because of coming back from the injury and not being back to himself yet, if it's because of father time catching up on him, or if it's a little bit of all of it. But I think it's fair to say that he does need a rest. Whatever way you look at the situation with Mo, I would agree with anybody who says that the man has played a lot of football in recent years, pretty much non-stop without a break. So what I would like to see happen, if he stays at the club, and as I said, I don't know what's going to happen there, but if he does stay at the club, I do think he deserves a rest, and he needs a rest, because, you know, we can't have what's happening this season happen again. That at the business end of a season, we start to fall away. We should be strong at this point, and especially with Mo having obviously had the injury then, was away at the AFCON. These are all things that we have to weigh up as well. Like, when is the next AFCON, as an example? I don't know off the top of my head, but if Liverpool were to give Mo an extension, if there's no AFCON coming up, that could make life a bit easier. We know we won't be losing them mid-season. So, loads to get through. I just don't believe that Liverpool are going to give him a new deal. I just really feel like this is posturing from the club, trying to control the narrative, or at least not make it very obvious that they want to sell him. But I could be wrong, you know, that's just my opinion. Off goes Thiago Silva, come a long way, Craig. Yes, I seen his announcement today that he was leaving Chelsea at the end of the season. He said he came for 1 year, he's been there for 4, and he hopes to return in some way or another. Don't you think this is a shout that Mo is not for cheap, or Edwards doesn't want to risk sufficient change in case some others might leave? So, my personal take is that this is Liverpool saying, oh no, we plan on keeping Mo, and not going out there and publicly saying that they'll listen to offers. Because if they come out and say that they're going to listen to offers, well, you're going to annoy Mo, first and foremost, and his agent. And then, of course, you're going to have a whole plethora of people trying to signal that Liverpool are looking to cash in, and that would weaken your position. On the other hand, Mohamed Salah may want to stay in Europe and may want to continue at the top level, and the underlying numbers may suggest to Michael Edwards that this season, or the latter part of this season, was an anomaly because of the injury or whatnot. But my one sentence to summarise this for me is, I'll believe a new deal when I see it. That's the first thing I'd say. I'll believe a new deal for him when I see it on the table and being signed. Until then, I'm very sceptical. Arne is exciting, but I really hope it works out, said Fadil. Thank you, mate, for your membership. Been with us for a month. Appreciate your input. My opinion, I think Salah will be sold, but if he stays, will he be happy sitting on the bench on occasion? I don't think he'll be happy sitting on the bench. I don't think anybody of Mo's stature in the game would be happy sitting on the bench. Now, did you see the story that was put out there today that somebody brought in a lip reader to try and figure out what Mo was saying? And I'll tell you what they said now. What they've reported that he said, because we've got to be clear about this. There's nothing to say this is definitive. But, where is it? No, it's not in there. It's in my other notes. Sorry, folks. The report said that he said, I'll get sent off after 7 year service, 7 year service, 7 year service. That was pretty much the gist of what he's apparently been saying on the sideline to Jurgen. But again, take it with a pinch of salt. Apparently, next AFCON is in July and August of 2025. And Mark said the same to me in a message there. He said he thinks the next AFCON is next year. Look, if it's a summertime tournament and it doesn't impact the Premier League, fair enough. I'd have no issue, same as any player, going off to represent the country if it's in the summer. I just don't like these AFCONs that were moved from January to the summer, back to January, back to the summer, back to January. I just want some certainty over it. And it's not great when you lose players mid-season for tournaments. But we went into this with open eyes with Mo. We knew what we were doing in that regard. And if it is going to be a summer tournament, then I'd have no issues, no problem releasing players for summer tournaments. I just don't like them breaking up a really busy part of the season by having an AFCON in January, February time. I think it's madness. Verge LCC said, I think we should start Mo for the rest of our games so we could at least get his form back and get him firing for next season. You could make an argument for the exact opposite though. And I mean this sincerely without trying to sound like I'm trying to undermine him or anything. You could make an argument to say, let him off now. Let him head off on holiday, get a good long break, and bring him back in for pre-season. Like, realistically, we've 3 games to go. We're in Europe. It's not going to change. We're in the Champions League. One more point, I think, make sure that we finish in 3rd place. And I think we'll pick that up against Wolves on the last day regardless what. So you can make an argument to let Mo go off on holidays now and start a proper recuperation and a proper rest. Give him a nice long rest. If you're sincere about extending him, give him a nice long rest and then see what happens. I just feel very sceptical about it though. I can't lie. I feel like this briefing from the club, a club that doesn't remember leak a lot of stuff, is now intentionally going to the media and saying the plan is for Mo to stay. It just doesn't smell right to me. It doesn't pass the smell test. Max said, can't wait for the Liverpool show and hopefully have a chat with you. On that actually, Max, for the Cardiff show, because we have control over the tickets. We're going to be selling the tickets ourselves for Cardiff. So what we've done is we've decided that we're going to make the tickets £15 and a family ticket is going to be available for £50 because it's an all-age event. So we're going to sell the tickets as cheap as we can, which is £15, and then you can get a family ticket, so 2 adults and 2 kids or whatever mix you want in your family for 50 quid. That's what we're going to do for the Cardiff show. So we will be announcing those ticket details soon. The ones for the Liverpool show will go on sale on May the 20th via the Hot Water Comedy Club, and we'll talk about that when it gets a bit closer. Craig, my eyes before injury were saying Mo can't be a man or help defend from the front anymore. If he plays right wing in the future and Trent right back, I feel extremely annoyed. If he stays, he must play central and Trent in midfield, said Barry Taylor. Barry, I agree with you. Whatever we think, and I'm open I'm open to believing that this form at the end of the season is a mixture of fatigue, the injury, and a lack of rhythm, and maybe a lack of confidence in front of the goal at the minute. But I'm with you. Even before the injury, there was a lot of stuff that the eye test wasn't passing for me. And look, it's not unusual for a player at this stage of the career, an attacking player like Mo, to maybe tweak his role a bit. But we haven't really seen that. All we've seen is, as you said, a bit less tracking back, I'm sure under instruction. I don't know, man. I still feel it's the right time to sell. I just do. I can't get away from that. But I'll support whatever the club decide to do. I'm a Liverpool fan. I can only ever give you my honest opinion on something. Whether you agree or disagree with it, that's up to you. But for me, I'd sell. Nobody's crying about anything, you weird little freak. Mate, waste your time writing in silly messages into the chat all you want. You're just going to get banned. If you've not got anything to add to our community, we don't want you here. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to get wound up by it anymore or bite on stuff. If I see shitty comments, they'll just get banned. So waste your own time at your leisure. Craig, would you consider starting the youngsters for one of the games for the end of the season? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big fan at this point of looking to the future. Jayden Dans has got to get a run. Bobby Clark has got to get a run. McConnell another run. I've no problem with any of these. We're in a position now where, let's be honest, we're not really playing for anything other than 3rd place, making sure that television money and stuff and prize money is sorted, and we're pretty much there. So yeah, look, we want to give Klopp a good send off, but if we can box clever about this as well, and as I said, maybe give Salah a longer break, I wouldn't be against that either. Craig, I saw a report today that Slot might try him in a new position, but that could just be a different formation. Yeah, I've no idea, mate. I haven't anything to go by to say what Arne Slot may or may not think of where Mo's going to go. What I can say is it's very clear today that Liverpool have briefed the local journalists about their stance on the situation. So I feel like there's a poll in this, right? I just want to know what the question should be. I guess we can look at all the options for Mo and put that to a poll. So let me just get this written out. One sec. Right, so I'm going to give you a whole host of different options. Right, I feel like there's three options here. Extend for 1 year, sell him in this summer, or let him run down his deal and leave on a free. I feel like they're the only realistic options here. Now, the reason I said extend for 1 year is because in David Lynch's piece, he said that that's the minimum that Salah would want. Well, I would say that's the minimum that you can give in an extension anyway. So I want to see how you guys are feeling about it, because my opinion hasn't changed. I still think selling is the right option, but we'll have to wait and see. Craig, do you know that Salah and VVD got on the Team of the Year for FC24? No surprise. You know, Virgil, up until the last couple of weeks where we've been defensively shaky, I think Virgil's had a pretty good season all round. And Salah, his underlying numbers are still decent. It's just, I've seen drop-offs in other areas. So, no surprise if they both got into the Team of the Year. What do you think of Trent Cone-Doherty, the Irish Liverpool youngster? Has been great for the youth squad. Do you think he'll get a call-up? He's still quite young, right? When he signed, he was, 16? Now 17. Doing well, as you said, at the underage, but plenty of time on his side. I would imagine probably a loan will be an option in the future for him. Where that is, I don't know yet. If Salah stays, he'll be recovered, rested, and the fittest man in the squad by next season. Potentially, Harry, but we also can't say that he mightn't pick up another injury or two. We don't know how bad this injury was, or there's a lot of uncertainty for us as fans. We don't have the medical notes. We don't know the ins and outs of it all. So I guess I do have trust in the club to make the right decision. That's what I'll say. I think that's the fairest I can be about it as well. Like I trust Michael Edwards to make the right decision on all the players. So the only thing that I personally would feel uncomfortable with is the potential risk of letting Mo go into the final year of his deal and then see how he's getting on and negotiate inside that final year. That would worry me because, we do have the chance then we end up losing him on a free. But if the club are willing to take that risk and lose out on potential revenue from if they move him on in the year, then I'll respect that as well. I just don't agree with it. Matty said, I think pre-season is going to be interesting. It is. It's going to be interesting to see what the training methods are like. It's going to be interesting to see how intense the pre-season is compared to under Jurgen Klopp, and a lot more as well. At least no AFCON next year. Well, apparently there is at the end of next season. Let's have a look and see what the poll is looking like. So far, and look, we'll leave this running for another while. So far, sell has 60%, let him run down his deal, 4%, and extend him for 1 year, 36%. But we'll leave that running. There's a load more I want to get through today, by the way. So, talking about referees, right, because of shock horror, Ref Watch was on today, and Dermot Gallagher was doing his usual, supporting the referees no matter what nonsense they come up with week after week. And I've seen a comment on the Echo comment section that pretty much summed up how I feel about the referee decision making. So what we got from Dermot Gallagher today was once again saying that the referee used common sense. That the ref used common sense making the decision to stop the game and allow West Ham's keeper to get this mythical treatment that nobody except Anthony Taylor seemed to think that he needed. So this comment sums it up for me. It said, so if a ref fails to apply common sense, that's right, because he has to abide by the rules, which is what we were told, remember, after the Spurs incident. Once the game was restarted, you're going against the rules of the game there, so you couldn't stop it and give Liverpool the goal. But if he fails to abide by the rules, that's all right too, because he's applied common sense. How terribly convenient. Exactly. That commenter is 100% spot on. They are twisting the narratives of all of these situations, so no matter what way the referee messes up, they have an excuse. Use common sense when it suits. Don't use common sense, have to abide by the rules when you're trying to cover up for the referees. It isn't acceptable. And this is before we get into many of the other decisions again. It's just one shit show after the next with referees. And they think they're fooling us. But everybody is seeing through it. We can see the cover-up jobs. We can see that these referees are clearly unfit for purpose. But yet again, Dermot Gallagher's wheeled out by Sky to support his mates. It's shocking. The whole segment is fucking pointless. Thoughts on the summer transfer window? Will FSG spend money, or are we fans in for a letdown? Almost certainly I would suggest we're in for a letdown. But, you know, that's just based off what we've seen in every other transfer window with our owners. What I was thinking was going to happen was that we'd get that money for Salah, and that would be put on top of whatever else was in the kitty, and that we'd have a reasonable transfer budget to go out and try and push the team on with. But what we'll probably see happen is the usual 30-40 million net spend on top of player sales, and we'll all be told, you know, that the club's living within its means, and how dare we ask for more, and we're not real fans, and all the other stuff that we get thrown at us whenever we want the club to actually start acting like a big club. Just give Salah another year. We all know Salah's form usually dips as the season ends in past years, and Liverpool supporters, we should support him to stay for now. He's a legend and deserves better support. I feel like he's had more than enough support, though. I mean, where is the lack of support for him? This is what I don't get. Like, Liverpool have supported him, and the fans have supported him all the way through. And yes, as you've said, it could be that his form's dipped off at the end of the season, but you also highlighted that that's not unusual for his form to dip off at the end of the season. So should we not have a right to ask why the form dips off at the end of every season? I think that's a very valid comment to come back with as well. Because, as you've said yourself, it does seem to happen quite a bit. Why? And I can't see it getting better as he gets older, unless he manages minutes throughout the season a bit better. And again, then you're having a very expensive bit part player. So, look, I respect other people's opinion on it. My opinion, though, is not going to change on it. I very firmly believe we should sell him. Tony Smith said, and thank you, Tony, I seriously trust Edwards' negotiating tactics have been exceptional. Knows what's best for business. I agree. I think Michael Edwards will get it right. But I just don't believe this story today about Liverpool going to negotiate with Salah, because there's no way I see Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes offering him a pay increase. You know, if he stays on the same money and signs a year contract, I can live with that. Absolutely, of course. Klopp won't be here to say we're kids at Christmas. Yeah. It is mad. Like, I feel like as Liverpool fans, we're almost programmed into not questioning transfer spend. Like, it feels like whenever we try to, there's some way to undermine us. Whether it's you're not real fans, you're not match-going fans, you're not realistic fans. My question is always why? Why? Our owners can spend more money. They just don't. You know, and that annoys me. That annoys me because they got away with a lot under Jurgen Klopp. Klopp covered up a lot of deficiencies of spending because of good coaching, and we are very good in the market as well. But that seems to have been a bit of a deviation from the club's original transfer philosophy since Michael Edwards departed. You know, Jurgen Klopp has gotten more powers over transfers, and you could say very well earned as well, and I've no issues with that, but I feel like we're going to see a different stance once Michael Edwards comes in. And actually, I wanted to talk to you guys about something else here. Martin Ziegler posted about this earlier on, and it's potentially quite a big thing for the Premier League. So I just want to read it out and then get your thoughts on it. So, Premier League clubs agree in principle on a spending cap known as anchoring to TV earnings of the bottom club. It's understood that Manchester City, Manchester United and Aston Villa voted against it and Chelsea abstained. Well, shock, horror. So, City, Villa and United, two of the three wealthiest owners, by the way, and Chelsea all didn't vote in favour of the proposal. Oh my God. What? Oh, shock. But they only need 14 for it to go through. So I thought I'd take a minute to kind of explain what it is. So what we currently have is PSR, Profit and Sustainability Rules. And those Profit and Sustainability Rules are going to stay in place for at least another 2 years, from what I believe today, from Cave Solocol's report. So what anchoring is basically Premier League clubs are going to be allowed to spend a multiple of whatever the lowest club's television revenue is. So let's say the bottom club in the Premier League made 100 million from television revenue. Well then, other clubs, no matter how much money they earn, are only going to be able to spend multiples of whatever that lowest amount is. So let's say it's 5 times. Then you'll be allowed to spend 500 million. If the bottom club in the TV, at the bottom of the Premier League table, earn 100 million in TV money, you're allowed to spend 5 times that. You're allowed to spend up to 500 million max. You also have to fall within UEFA's 70% of turnover rule, which would mean 70% for clubs playing in Europe, 70% of the turnover would be able to be spent on player wages. For clubs that don't participate in European competition, they'll be allowed to spend 85% of their turnover on wages and stuff. The idea being that Premier League clubs who are in Europe would of course be generating more money and thus would have more money to play around with. That's the long and short of it. It's very simplified, but they haven't yet agreed. They haven't agreed the formula yet. So we can talk about multiples of the bottom club's TV revenue, but they haven't agreed what those multiples are yet. They're working off a basis of about 4.5 times the bottom club's TV revenue, but there is talk that that could be perhaps 5, 5.5 or 6. So these are the things that are going to be voted on, and we will get more news on that as the week develops, but it looks like at this point they've enough votes to at least put that through. You need 14 Premier League clubs to vote in favour of it, with Manchester United, Aston Villa and Manchester City voting against it and Chelsea abstaining from it. You at least still have enough votes there to get it through. So that's a simplistic version of it all. He and Klopp didn't have a fight. That's all media hysteria. Who are we talking about here, by the way? Who and Klopp didn't have a fight? If you're talking about Salah and Klopp not having a fight, I'm fine, yeah, whatever. That was nothing on the sideline. I wouldn't read too much into it. If you're talking about Edwards and Klopp, disagree. Respectfully, I think enough people have written about a fallout to think that there was probably a fallout. But it's kind of irrelevant as well, because whether there was or there wasn't, Klopp is leaving and Edwards is coming back in. So kind of a moot point one way or the other. Muse K, thank you for the super sticker, mate. Appreciate you. Hey Craig, hope you're well. Sad end about Klopp and Liverpool, said Daniel K. It is, mate. It is. It's been a really sad last month or so, seeing us crash out of the competitions, see us fall away in the league, and see Jurgen just, really looking like a shell of himself in the post-match interviews and stuff. It is. I hope there could be a bit of good vibe for the last 3 games. We spoke about this yesterday in the stream, and we said basically, just go, tell the lads to go and have fun at this point. You're not going to win the league. That's done. We're going to be in the Champions League next year. We need 1 point, I think, to guarantee 3rd place. Go and have fun. Tell the lads to go out, express themselves, and don't play with any fear. And hopefully, we can restore some confidence and put in some good performances. And, yeah, just hope to see them all smiling and enjoying themselves. That would be at least a decent end to these last few games for Jurgen. Opinions are the Chelsea disallowed goal versus Villa. Honest opinion, Matty, is this. I think the fact that the referee was asked to go to the monitor is a disgrace. Reason being, he had a perfectly good view of it. And he decided after looking at it that it was fine and allowed to go. Then the goal was scored. The ref does the signal, points towards the halfway line, and then we see the VAR recommendation. And this annoys me because it's not like the ref didn't see it. It's not like the ref had an obstructed view of it, or it's not like it was a particularly clandestine situation that the ref didn't know what was going on. This was a clear case, in my opinion, of VAR re-refereeing the game. The ref seen it and awarded the goal. For me, that's where it should end. There wasn't enough in that the ref may not have seen a part of it. The ref seen what went on. He was looking straight at it. So I think it was nonsense that the goal wasn't allowed. And I also think the fact that Michael Oliver didn't initially award the penalty for Declan Rice kicking the underneath of the Spurs player when he was looking straight at it and went like this. I think that's also nonsense, but at least in that, the VAR came to the right conclusion. I feel like referees are intentionally not giving these things now if they have any small doubt because they hope to be rescued by VAR. But either way, it's not good enough and we deserve better. And we should get better because the officials are shit. What happened to the money generated for the generational talent? So not convinced they will support Slot. So, again, I will talk about... It's hard to speak in hypotheticals here. You know, hypothetically, we had 115 million to spend on Caicedo. We didn't spend that money, but yet we did spend, about 58, 60 million of it, if you look at the money spent for Endo and Ryan Gravenberch afterwards. But, look, you're not going to get any argument back from me, Andrew. I think the owners are cheap, and I've long believed that they can do more. And this is going to tell us a lot about FSG's appetite to really succeed. Like, I've no doubt that they will be over the moon about the financial certainty that's coming in if this new anchor system comes in. I've no problem with that. I've no problem with a somewhat level playing field financially in the Premier League and FSG believing that they can be more clever in certain areas, that they can look into the data, maybe see things others don't, and find some bargains. No problem with that. But what I want to see happen is us look at the squad, see that we have a deficiency in X position or Y position, and do what we did with Virgin Allison, which is go out there and get the best people. But we know in that scenario, we had the Felipe Coutinho money. So I wonder, will we see FSG really show an appetite this summer to back their new manager to go and succeed? Or will they just hope that we can find our way back into the Champions League and keep the revenue coming in? I fear it's probably going to be the latter, but I hope that they step up. I just don't have much belief in it because as many good things as I think they have done, they are tight and they are cheap, and I can't get away from that. It's just how I feel about them. We can all keep talking about whether we should sell Mo or not. For me, it comes down to who his replacement will be if he is sold. Somebody like Kudus, and I'll say sell immediately. Left-footed right wing. I have no idea. But what I can say is, on Bakayoko, who we have been linked with, the Daily Express ran an article that said Liverpool target Johan Bakayoko was reportedly piqued the interest of Premier League rivals Brentford. So Brentford are apparently looking at the PSV Eindhoven player. So after that, I don't know. But the centre-back situation seems to be the one the club are focusing on. That's what's been doing the rounds a lot. Now, Fabrizio Romano also said Liverpool and Feyenoord have signed the documents for Arne Slot's imminent move to Liverpool as new head coach. Official announcement planned for this week. So it looks like we will get the Kirby lean, for want of a better phrase, and we will get the official announcement on Arne Slot's incoming as Liverpool coach. Joy said Edwards is a big advocate of Mo staying. Yeah, I just don't believe it. You know, let's just play a little hypothetical game for a minute. Do we think there's a world where Michael Edwards wants Mo to stay? Yeah, I can see that there's a world where that might happen. But what I'd ask you, mate, do you think there's a world where Liverpool might be trying to control a narrative and briefing to journalists? And remember, we don't brief. Liverpool are a club who go about their business quietly and don't usually brief stuff. What did we do after the situation with Ruben Amorim and he gets on that plane, goes over to London and does his whole dance about, I might sign for West Ham. Next day, Liverpool, like that, briefed that Arne Slot was the chosen one, and then all of a sudden that moved quickly. So I would say to you, I'm open to believing that there's a world where Edwards does want them to stay, but I hope you're open to believing that there's another world where this is just narrative spinning, and that it's just trying to make the club's stance more concrete that they don't want to lose him. Which, of course, would mean they would say, oh, well, if he wants to leave, it's going to cost a huge amount because we don't want to lose him. I think the proof of the pudding's going to be in the eating. Will he get a new deal? Will that contract offer come? Will he sign it? Then we'll know for sure. Until then, I think we should be sceptical about all of it. We should be sceptical about the club's belief, his belief, what his agent believes, until we know what the situation is. All we know for a fact right now is that he's got 1 year to go in his deal. Same as Verge, same as Trent. That's all that we know for certain. What's this one? My God. That guy's jokes is absolutely loving me. I mean, fair play. They've posted this time, Arne Slot when he sees the summer transfer budget and realises the owners are only letting him spend 7 million. And then there's a little graphic of me from the 7-2 game. I mean, I love it. I'm more than happy for people to use me for a bit of banter. It's part of the job. I'm all for it. Klopp's next job. That is a tough one, because I would have thought he would end up taking the Germany job. I would have thought he'd take maybe 7 or 8 months off, and then, early part of next year we hear him getting announced. But with Julian Nagelsmann signing that extension with the German national team, I don't know. Will he have another job? Has he... I don't know. I don't know if he'll retire or if he'll take some time out. I really have no idea what to expect, Maddie. I don't know. Heavy Metal D. Evening, Craig. I hope you're well. 9 months in this awesome and amazing channel. You're truly a great and friendly person, dude. Thank you, mate. Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, thank you for supporting us for that long. Thank you for being a member for that long. It really does mean a lot. Klopp will probably end up being Bayern Munich manager. I don't know. There are some clubs I just never thought I'd see Klopp manage. And Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, probably Barcelona, I don't know if they're necessarily Jurgen Klopp type clubs. I could see him managing Atletico Madrid for some mad reason, because they're that little kind of tiny bit below the big two, but still with a decent budget, a good loyal fan base and a good squad. So you could probably again look to upset the apple cart a little bit. But look, whatever he does, from me on a personal level, all I would say is thank you for everything he's brought to the club, for everything he's done for the club. And I wish the man nothing but years of happiness in the future. I just hope we don't come up against him in a competition, because it would be tough seeing him on the other side again. Craig, we appointed Pedro Marquez from Benfica. Do you think with his connection from South America, we could get a few gems instead of them going to Spain or Portugal first? Well, that would be the whole idea of these multi-club model that Liverpool are looking to do. So Michael Edwards, if I had to guess, I would say you will see a club from either Portugal, Holland, or maybe Belgium as an option for Liverpool to buy for this multi-club model. And in that scenario, then you could bring in players from South America and get them experience and some points to get them the visa to eventually come into the Premier League. So I think that will all encompass part of it. And yes, that's why that guy was brought into the fold as well, the guy you spoke about from Benfica. Who would you get as a manager? For me, the first two were Alonso and Amram, but I'm okay with Arne Slot as well. I just don't think there's an available list of managers that make me go, wow. Realistically, looking around right now, we've got Klopp, Guardiola's there with City, Ancelotti's at Real Madrid. I don't want Mourinho near the club. I don't like the idea of Thomas Tuchel. De Zerbi, I actually prefer the idea of Arne Slot. So I feel like I just hope that we get the next thing, the next great young manager. And it looks like Michael Edwards believes that that's going to be Arne Slot. Time will tell. There's no lying and saying that this isn't going to be a risk. Of course it is. When you lose somebody as important as Jurgen Klopp to the club, the next manager is going to be a risk. But what I don't want to happen is the next manager to be a sacrificial lamb. I don't want that. I hope we've gone for somebody who we genuinely believe will deliver and will be ready for the job. I think we have, to be fair. Hates Eric Ten Hag, who's better in Holland but backs Slot. Okay, so firstly, Gary Blart, you fucking moron. Firstly, that comparison is in itself laughable because you're neglecting to give some of the very important points of that. So, in what way was Ten Hag better? Well, he had a much bigger budget with the biggest club in the Netherlands in Ajax. And Arne Slot went in with Feyenoord and won the damn league with a budget that was 40% less than that of Eric Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag is also the most uncharming, uncharismatic gobshite that I've ever seen sit in a press conference. So yes, I back Arne Slot because 1, he has a philosophy that will work at our club. 2, he's charming, endearing and knows how to keep players on side and not fall out with everybody every 5 minutes. And 3, has already won stuff in the Netherlands and already done stuff in Europe with clubs. So to compare Ten Hag to Slot means you're a moron. Simple. I don't know what else to say to you. Gary, you are a moron. Does that work for you, mate? You call me a clown, but you're an actual moron who hasn't got a valid conversation because you don't know what is coming to the table. You don't know what's comparable. 40 million a year budget for wages for Eric Ten Hag at Ajax failed. Over here with Liverpool and Arne Slot, 25 million euro budget with Feyenoord, less than PSV Eindhoven at 30 million and less than Ten Hag at 40 million. Ten Hag came over and stunk the gaff up. Embarrassed the shit out of your club, got you whooped out of the Champions League in a piss-weak group that ruined the coefficient for the rest of England, didn't even get you into the Europa League, but it's okay though, because what? Because you're deluded into thinking that he's in any way a decent coach. Work away, pal. Let me know how it's getting on. Let me know how Sancho got on, how Ronaldo got on, how Rashford's getting on. Just let me know, because he seems like he's working wonders. You know, they all love him. Fans are 100% behind him, absolutely not booing him. He didn't get whooped 7-0 by us. But you just keep believing, Gary. That's it, mate. Keep the faith. That's what I'd say to you, because you're right. Ten Hag's the Messiah. I'm ever so jealous. I can only dream about bringing the little clown into Anfield. But he's your problem, mate, not ours. I don't try to make him our problem. We have a manager coming in. You worry about United and we'll worry about us. Weird. Is that good enough for you, Gary? Are you dead yet? Do you want me to keep poking at you, mate? Are we done? Are we done now? Oh my God. From the Netherlands, Arne Slot is the best Dutch manager out here. He's going to be boss. Don't say that, Stefan. You're not allowed to say that in front of United fans, mate, because they might poo-poo their nappies. So be careful. You know, we don't want to have the likes of Gary crying because you point out factual information to him based off your observations of actually watching the Eredivisie. Gary said that's not the case, so, you know, we can only trust Gary. But in all honesty, Stefan, thank you, mate, for your input. Loads of people who've I've seen stuff from the Netherlands say he's a very good coach, a very attack-minded coach. Feyenoord fans are obviously really hard-pressed to lose him. But, you know, what do they know? Because they haven't spoken to Gary. Gary knows. Gary! I hope that was worth that £2, Gary, by the way. Because I tell you what, mate, you got your £2 worth. You know, you can't be coming around saying that you didn't get your £2 worth out of Craig now. Come on. Craig, United fans think Ten Hag is the best Dutch coach. This is the level of wit that we have to put up with, mate. Ten Hag bald and Dutch, therefore Arne Slot bald and Dutch must be the same. That's the level of rationale that these omadons, these clowns are working with. And how am I supposed to take that opinion too? Like, how am I somebody here who's trying to actually look at the situation and judge it with my own eyes? How am I supposed to take these idiots seriously? Oh, well, he's bald and Dutch, therefore he's the exact same. That's genuinely the argument, like. what can you say? Like, it's like dealing with the children. Actually, do you know what? My son would put up a better argument than that, so I'm being unfair to children. Ah, be the Lord. That couldn't. There's no way I'm believing that. I'm not believing that about Chris Wood, mate. Do you think Arne Slot could improve Darwin and make us enjoy watching him? I don't know. Like I've said this for weeks now. I don't know where I am with Darwin. I don't know what the best course of action is. But I do believe he'll be here next season. You know, that I feel comfortable enough to think that the club aren't going to look to cash in. I think, especially with a new coach coming in. You know, if Jurgen was going to stay and Darren was still misfiring, don't know. But under a new coach, maybe a new coach can get better results. I hope so, because we all know what he's capable of. You know, when Darwin's on it, he's on it. Like, he's a joy to watch, but it's just getting that consistency from him. Right, let's look at this poll anyway. So we've had just about 2,000 votes on it so far. And we said to you guys, what is the best option for Mohamed Salah? Should we extend for 1 year? 37%. Sell? 58%. And then the other option was to let him run down his deal. That was at 5%. So 58% of people think that Liverpool should look to cash in on Mohamed Salah this summer. Salah or Mbappe? I mean, obviously Mbappe. You know, if you look at it from any other perspective, like, Mbappe's younger. Mbappe's still got that explosive pace. One of the things that frustrates me most about the Salah situation is not really the chances he's missing as much as it is his inability to go past players anymore. You know, that's the thing that, like, when's the last time we've seen Salah go on a bit of a slalom run into a penalty area, go past a couple of players and bend one into the top corner or the far corner? I feel like it's been a while. So we see that from Lucho, but we don't have the end product as much from Lucho. You know, he hit the post the other day, had another shot saved by the keeper, but he still has that dynamic, explosive attacking pace. And that's what I miss most about Salah. You know, I pointed out a couple of goals against Spurs and against City in years gone by, where you look at Mo in the penalty area going past players and you're like, how was he getting past these guys? It was insane. We don't see that anymore. And that's one of the more worrying things to me. But what I will say in Mo's defence is, although I feel like he's lost that ability to some extent, I feel like his passing and assist making has come on leaps and bounds, and he's gotten much better at picking those passes for his teammates. He's got a very good slide rule pass into that half space along the 6-yard box for usually the likes of a Darwin running back across. So Salah will cut across the 18-yard box, our forward will run this way, and then he'll just slip that ball in. He's been very, very good at that, and I've noticed a marked improvement in his passing and assist making. But I've also noticed that he's been brushed off balls too easy for my liking at times. I've noticed that his control's a little bit bobbly at times. And these are all things that just make me feel like that his age and his contract situation, I don't think I can be moved from thinking it's time to sell him. Craig, did you see the post about a lip reader guessed on what Salah said between Salah and Klopp? It was on Sport Bible. Yes, we spoke about it. I thought I'd sent it to Connor earlier on, but I can't seem to find the post on it. I thought I'd sent it to Connor earlier on, but I don't seem to have it there. Yeah, the gist of it was that it was something along the lines of, I'll get sent off, and then 7 years after 7 years service. Something along those lines, I think, was what was mentioned in it. I'm just trying to see if I do have... No, I don't seem to have it in my notes. No, I don't have it to hand. But I had seen the post you're on about, yes. This is my favourite football channel too. Thank you, Sadiq, or Sadek, excuse me. Yeah, appreciate all your support, lads, honestly. You know, I know you see me going in on people in the chat now, but I promise you one thing. If you come in and are sincere with us, you won't get any of this snottiness from me. I'm not like that. But I don't take fools or suffer fools gladly. If somebody comes in and wants to contribute, like your good self and many other people in the chat, dude, welcome in. Pleasure to have you with us. Let's talk. But if you come in to be an asshole, no time. There's just too many good people in the chat that want to chat. I don't have time for these idiots that come in just to try and wind us up. I got a question for you. So, Geertruida would love to join Arne Slot at Liverpool and is ready for a transfer. That came from Marcel van der Kraan for The Telegraph over in the Netherlands. Has anybody seen this dude play? Because was he the dude who was at the West Ham game as well, up in the stand? All I know about him is that he's a versatile defender that can play anywhere across the back in a full-back or a centre-back position. That's pretty much all I know about him. So I'm open to any help that you can give me on this guy, or if you've watched him and think he might be good enough. Slim chance for Liverpool to win titles, assuming Man United beat Arsenal and City have a slip up, but who knows what can happen, said Mike. Oh, Mike, honestly, mate, I think, to be fair to both City and Arsenal, they're looking very strong. Arsenal's perform. You got to give Arsenal credit, to dismantle Chelsea the way they did, and then to go out there and fly into a 3-goal lead at Spurs gaff. And I know that Spurs nearly pulled it back, but you got to give them credit. That they don't look like they're going to make a slip up, either of them. So I don't really hold out much chance, mate. I'm happy that third is pretty much sewn up at this point, because I'm trying to get into the mindset that I would have taken that at the start of the season, because I would have. But, context with the way the season has gone, it does feel a bit anticlimactical that we're, talking about a Carabao Cup trophy only. Craig Houlden is Feyenoord vice captain. And by the way, any Dutch people in the chat, am I saying Feyenoord right, or is it Feyenoord? Because I'm trying to be intelligent sounding here, and I've been saying Feyenoord the whole way through. But if I'm mispronouncing it, please do let me know. So, he's the vice captain, played most minutes under Slot this season, can play centre-back, right-back, left-back, DM. He's basically a younger Dutch Joe Gomez. That's pretty much how Connor described him to me as well, actually. Geertruida is a beast in the Netherlands national team, said Stefan de Wit. Thank you, Stefan. The more I can learn about this dude, the better. What happened to Lavia after the summer? Injury. Yes, he's had an injury-plagued season and, hasn't really been able to get any football under his belt, really. We won a trophy and got Champions League again. A fair result, all things considered. Yeah, look, Fergal, you go into any campaign, mate, and you won a trophy. It just, let's be honest, we got the most underwhelming of the 4 we could have played for. But still a trophy, you are right. And we got back in the Champions League. And that should hopefully at least make it more likely we'll see a few quid freed up and certainly, be able to attract the players because we're into the Champions League. I know Jurgen has always said that he's never spoken to a player who's just said, no, I won't come if you're not in the Champions League. But it's definitely a big plus. Have you heard about our interest in Isak? Is that interest coming from Indicala, that post? Because, look, I'd love Alexander Isak. I'd love Liverpool to have interest in him, and I'd love Liverpool to put an offer in on him because I'd very much like him at the club, and I think he's a good player. But I'm not going to believe anything that comes out of KFC boys' keyboard. It's Feyenoord, according to Google. So where's my Dutch friend? I'm waiting for our Dutch friend. I'm waiting for Stefan de Wit here to give me a handout. Stefan, how do I pronounce it, bro? So according to Google speech, you say it like Feyenoord. Feyenoord. Camera focus is a bit blurry. No, it isn't, Sean. Camera focus is spot on. Must be your Wi-Fi connection, mate, or some buffering from YouTube's end, but I have the camera running clearly here in front of me, so I can see exactly what the focus is like, and it's not unfocused, so it must be just something at your end, mate. Craig, Liverpool supporters are a funny lot. You get a glass half empty or a glass half full guy. Klopp still left Liverpool in a good position. Yeah. Am I a glass half empty or a glass half full guy? I'm depending on my humour, if I'm being honest with you. I can be both. I can definitely be an optimistic person, but I gotta say I can be a pessimistic dude at times as well. Harry said, Craig, from sports, Geertruida would cost about €30 million. Him and Pacho for a combined 80 million would be great business. On that, I can't remember which one of these. It was either the Echo or the Athletic, but one of them did a section today on his 10 big money signings at Feyenoord, or his biggest signings at Feyenoord, and which ones have worked and which ones haven't. So I picked out 3 of them that I thought we could talk about today. So one is somebody who you guys have mentioned to me quite a bit, which is Santiago Jimenez. So they signed him in July 2022 from Cruz Azul in Mexico. He's a centre forward, and they paid 5.12 million. And he was 21 years of age when they brought him in. This says Jimenez has been a resounding success for Slot, with the striker currently third in the Eredivisie goal chart. He's fired home 21 goals in 29 league matches, tallying 5 assists along the way. He scored the first of 2 hat-tricks this season against Ajax in September, and currently sits on 47 goals in 45 matches across his stay at Feyenoord. So he was ranked number 6 on the list of most expensive signings, and then they went to say whether they were success or failure. Number 4 on the list, the 4th most expensive signing, is Quinton Timber, who I'm sure you're aware is the brother of Arsenal's Timber, Jurrien Timber. They signed him from FC Utrecht in July 2022 for £6.32 million, and he's a centre midfielder. They say the brother of Arsenal defender Jurrien Timber's form has been so eye-catching that he's been linked with a Premier League move. Having had to come back from a knee injury last season, he's been an integral part of Slot's team, playing 43 matches this term with 8 goals and 9 assists to his name. And then number 1, their most expensive signing, but one that they said has been a massive success, is David Hanko, who they signed from Sparta Prague. When he was 24 years of age, they paid £7.1 million for him. And they go on to say, experienced Slovakian star Hanko has played in every single match this season and was instrumental to last year's title success. Across his 90 games for Feyenoord, he has kept a credible 35 clean sheets and picked up just 6 yellow cards, also chipping in with 10 goals and 8 assists. Definitely value for money. So they're 3 that I picked out because they're names that I've heard you guys talk about in the chat. So on those 3, are there any of them between Santiago Jimenez, Quinton Timber and David Hanko that would be good enough to come to Liverpool? I don't know. I'm genuinely asking you guys your thoughts. The brother of Timber is very good, and you did say it the right way. In Feyenoord, thank you. See? I'm Dutch, basically. You know, it's no coincidence that I look like Arne Slot. Genuinely, though, my family does have Dutch connections all the way back, so I always kind of look out at the Netherlands as my second favourite footballing nation. That, and I love the colour orange. Hanko would be brilliant for us, said Carson Dent. Hanko, said TB. If you remove all the bias, is there any of the Man United present squad that you would take? Yes, definitely. Right, who would I take from the United current squad? I mean, it's hard to say Bruno without talking about the wah. But footballing wise, there's no denying he's a good player. Garnacho has absolute ability. Kobe Mainu looks like an absolute sensational young midfielder. I think as a backup right back, I wouldn't say no to one of your boys as well. Other than that, probably not. But being fair about it, they're the only ones that I could really think of. Mainu, Garnacho, the version of Bruno, and maybe a fullback. Personally think Liverpool will be fine next season, but we just need to back a lot of our 23-24 season ending hiccups and correct them in our favour going forward. And that came in from MDH. Thank you, my friend. Big Man said, Santiago Jimenez is the clinical man we need. I really want him. The hopeful Star Wars guy said, Hoyland defo. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Hoyland. Craig, where's my hook caps? Hook caps. I didn't even know they were still a thing. I don't know where your hook caps are, mate, but I'm levels above dealing with hook caps at this point in my life. Oh, God, that's embarrassing. No. He doesn't deal in hook caps, mate. I deal in diamond precision alloys at this point, mate. Hook caps. That's so 1995. What's your view on Kelleher? Should he move on? Look, selfishly, I'd like him to stay because I don't believe we're going to get in a better number 2. But I can understand if he decides, what is he now, 25, heading for 26. If he looks at it and thinks, I want to go be a first choice goalkeeper somewhere, I couldn't begrudge him that opportunity. Yeah, that's the fairest I can be about it. And I don't know what the club are going to do, but there seems to be long-standing interest from Nottingham Forest in Caoimhín Kelleher. Whether that ends up with a bid coming in, an acceptable bid, or I don't know, but selfishly I'd like him to stay. He was here a few weeks ago asking the same thing. I remembered the question, Mary, but I couldn't remember, mate, in all honesty, if it was the same account or not. But I gave him the same type of response that I gave him a few weeks ago, if I remember correctly. So Slot is becoming head coach, but is he still becoming manager? So I think there's a bit of confusion about this, actually, because Ben pointed out to me the other day that when we put out the video about Arne Slot coming in as head coach, people were a bit confused. So let me try and explain it as best as I can. When we talk about managers in football, more recently, clubs have tended to go away from the management word and looked at a head coach. In the older days, so let's say you got your Alex Ferguson, your Arsene Wenger's, back then, a manager would control all the footballing operations at the club. They'd have to say over the scouting. They'd be the determining factor about transfers, obviously hand in hand with the owners. But more recently, what we've seen happen, especially in Europe, is a structure being put in place that has a sporting director at the head of that structure, and he overlooks all footballing operations. And then the manager will come in and become a head coach. And his responsibility will be to coach and select the team. And nobody will interfere in that process with the manager, or the coach, I should say, the head coach. That's his role. The reason that clubs have moved to this structure is managers tend to stay at clubs for 2 to 3 years on average, if even. And there can be a lot of upheaval. If a manager then goes, rips the guts out of the club, changes the footballing philosophy. But if you've got a sporting director in place, like Richard Hughes, the idea is that the sporting director will make sure that the philosophy of football stays the same throughout the club, and it's a lot less of a daunting prospect to just bring in and out a different head coach if and when they're needed. But it doesn't change the structure of the football club. The players coming through in the academy system, the under-18s, the under-21s, they will be versed in the Liverpool way. And at the moment, the Liverpool way is some variation of a 4-3-3. That's what's being taught to the guys all the way right through. So with Jurgen departing, what the club have done is look at it and think, right, Jurgen had earned the right to get to the point where he had a say on transfers. He had a say on all of the footballing operations. But now they don't know how Arne Slot is going to be at the club. So they want to make sure that they can control what they can control and that they just allow him to come in and just coach. Pick the team and coach. And if he's successful over time, you might see a little bit of a loosening of the reins and him giving bit more freedom to have a say in these things. But ultimately, it's just to protect the structure. So when we talk about a head coach as against the manager, no, there won't be another manager coming in above him, but the sporting director will be the one who takes care of the transfers and the day-to-day running football operations. The coach will do just that, coach and pick the team. That's the easiest way I can try to explain it. Which structure do you prefer? I prefer the new structure. I thought Jurgen Klopp earned the right, by the way, to have the freedoms and the power that he had at the club. No problem with that whatsoever. But again, I would say that Jurgen was more of an outlier. You know, Pep Guardiola, probably another manager in the Premier League. There aren't very many, but Pep Guardiola, probably another one that has got that freedom at Manchester City. But I think now that we have Richard Hughes in and Michael Edwards above him again, I like this system, you know. Let the coach come in and do that. Coach the team, pick the players. And if he gets results and he starts winning, who knows? Maybe in the future he gets a bit more. But I think this is the smart option to do it right now, the way we're doing it. Harry said, your channel's amazing, Craig. Made an unbelievable channel. Always amazing when you join in, have a bad week, close to losing the job and girlfriend in the same week. I hope that doesn't happen for you, Harry. I'm sorry, mate. Look, I know only too well about how hard it is to get jobs at the minute. My daughter has been looking for a job since October, and it's been tough out there, man. You know, she hasn't been able to find anything, and I mean supermarkets to anything, and it's been very tough to see her, you know, frustrated because genuinely wants to go out there into the workplace and just can't get it at the minute, you know. So I hope it doesn't happen to you, mate, and thank you for your kind words on the channel. But hang on in there. There will be brighter days ahead, mate. I promise you that. Is it a power flex move from Michael Edwards? Which one, Coach Bill? Is what exactly are we talking about? Was a power flex move? Hi Craig, what position and how many players does Liverpool need to sign this summer? In my opinion, I think we need a left back, a centre back and a CDM. What do you think? Yeah, I don't really have too much disagreement, Wilmer, with what you've said there. According to what the journalists are saying anyway, a centre back is the priority for Liverpool. You know, we've seen that over the last couple of days. A few of the prominent journalists have said Liverpool's priority is going to be a centre-back this summer. I agree with you. I think we could use another defensive midfielder. You could make an argument against that if Bajcetic progresses well and maybe he could be in there competing with Endo as well. But we are also losing Thiago, Matip. So a centre-back, a defensive midfielder. I think a left-sided defender if we sell Chimicas, if we don't, I don't know, maybe you look and see Luke Chambers, see how he gets on. Other than that, probably a forward, whether it's a wide or a central forward, I don't know. Barry said, can I be cheeky and ask for a poll of where Trent should play in the future? Includes sell, not for me. He's created 14 big chances this season, one less than Kevin De Bruyne. Absolutely, Barry. I think with your generosity over the years, mate, or over the months, you've absolutely got the ability to call for a poll, bud. No problem whatsoever. Right. Right, Barry, let me get these options in for you. And you said you wanted me to include sell. A sec. Okay. There you go. Exactly as you've asked for. Trent's best position or Trent's best option. Midfield, right back or sell. There you go. Let's see how it works out, Barry. But absolutely, mate, no problem putting that poll up. Matip had good spells, but very injury prone. Oh look, I'm a massive Joel Matip fan. I think he's one of the best free transfers we've ever brought in, and I'm really sad that it's ended the way it has ended for him. But you know, saying all of that, I don't think it would be in any way sensible to extend the player who's out of contract in the summer and is coming back from an ACL. I mean, with all love and respect to Joel, I really did appreciate him at Liverpool Football Club, and I thought he was very consistent when he was able to play and never really let us down. But I just think right now, where it is, it's the right decision, unfortunately, to part ways. But nothing but admiration for the man. So nobody's talking about selling Trent, mate. Nobody's talking about selling Trent. The poll is just requested by somebody, and I put in the options that the person asked. Now, also, we have to remember that Trent is also in a similar situation to Virgil and Mo, that their contracts are up in 1 year's time. So, you know, you don't want to be letting those boys go into the last year of their deals, especially Trent with the age he is and being vice captain. And I guess you could make the same about Virg as a centre back. Geertruida is brilliant, fast, strong, technically very clever, and can dribble like Hansen. I like it. Alan, thank you. Geertruida or Bradley, right back, Trent midfield, said Stefan David. Thank you, Stefan. Look, I'm fully on board with Trent going into midfield in a 4-2-3-1 and Conor Bradley going at right back. I think that's the best solution. I don't feel comfortable with Trent at right back, and I don't want Trent to go anywhere. So I think putting him or giving him an opportunity in a 4-2-3-1, I hope that's what we see. Abdullah, how are you, my friend? Said, absolutely love Salah, will always be a legend at the club, but no player is bigger than the club, and it's time to turn a new chapter without him. Look, I agree with everything you've written, including the part about him being a legend at the club. It's just a horrible subject, isn't it? You know, it's not one that any of us take any pleasure talking about, but I still feel it's a bit weird that we've allowed this situation to develop with Mo, with Trent and with Virgil. Especially Trent. Like, it seems absolute lunacy to me that your vice captain, who is coming into his prime, is being let get down to 1 year to go on his contract. For a club that are supposed to be clever about our finances, that just does not sit well with me at all. I don't like it. I think it's too risky. Would Trent play as a 6 or an 8? So in a double pivot system, think of it as somewhere between both. Would have the license to get forward, wouldn't be expected to do as much of the defensive work as your out and out defensive midfielder, but would still sit deeper. When we're defending, the centre DM, the number 6, would drop back in and help out and make a back 5, and then we would basically, in a slot system when he's defending, it turns into a 5-4-1. And when we're in possession, then obviously it's a 4-2-3-1, and one of the double pivot has license to get forward in support of the attack. A 6 and a double pivot for me, said Barry Taylor. I hate the idea of Trent being a 6. I have to say, that fills me with dread. Because he's not press resistant. I don't see him as being great at winning balls back. I think if you look at him as a part of a double pivot, you look at him as a regista. Somebody who can dictate tempo and play from deep. Get forward if needs be, break a line, pick out a pass. But I don't want him having to do the endo work. I just don't think that would work out. Have I worked on my video about Slot? No, not yet. I haven't had a chance to do it because Ben's been on a week's holiday and now it's his day off today. So myself and Connor have just been just making sure we can keep the shows going along, get everything out. I've got my notes done for it, Evie, but I haven't got the video made yet. No, we're still working on the graphics and a few other things, and I'll get to it when I can. You know, there are plenty of people far better than me at making these type of videos, but I will get it done. It's just been a hectic few days for us. Harry said, Craig, when you have a look at data, MB, and compare Maka to Vifer, they are almost identical in the way they play the same for Cody and Paxau. But they are in different leagues. You got to take that into consideration as well. Oh, here we go. Some stuff around Geertruida. 1 second. Right, so here's a few things that Anything Liverpool posted about Geertruida. 23 years of age, can play right back, centre back, left back and DM. In 23-24, he made 31 appearances, scoring 6 goals, having 4 assists. In his career, 195 appearances, 22 goals, 10 assists. Contract expires on June the 30th, 2025. Injury record is below. Let me have a look at this. There's one knee injury that required 117 days, but over the last, what have we got? He's missed very little time in recent history. Yeah, very little time. A handful of days in the last couple of seasons. So his injury record looks fairly strong. You know, he did have that knee injury in 2020-2021 on May 16th. That kept him out for 117 days. But other than that, he looks fairly bulletproof. Salah said in an interview before he wants to retire at Liverpool, although I personally think we should sell. Has he not earned the right to end his career how he wants? No, he hasn't. Because the football club's more important. He can end his career how he wants, absolutely. If he wants to run down his contract at Liverpool and leave, fine. If he wants to stay and retire here, I would suggest he's probably going to have to take a pay cut and pull his socks up a little bit. But every player has the right to end how they want. But nobody has the right to dictate to the football club what happens, because the football club has to be here in 50 years, 100 years, has to be sustainable and has to look after itself. So no, he hasn't earned the right to decide his whole career from the football club's perspective. The football club has to do what's right for the football club. That's my take on it with him or any other player. Nobody's bigger than the club. Nobody. Nobody will ever be. Nobody will ever has been. And he's no different. So he has the right to make his own mind up. If he signs a new deal, great. If he leaves, that's his choice as well. If he runs down his deal, again, also up to him. So he does have that freedom, but he doesn't have the freedom to hold us over a barrel, nor would any other player, if you get where I'm coming from. What's your opinion on the Dutch squad? I mean, I wouldn't be the most informed on the current Dutch national team squad, but they seem to be coming back from what was a pretty barren spell in the last 8 to 10 years and looking a lot more steady. I don't see them winning the Euros or coming close to it, in all honesty, but there's certainly some good technical players in the Dutch squad, a mixture of youth and experience, of course, as well. And they'll always produce. For a country as small as the Netherlands are, it's actually remarkable how consistently they've been at producing players and squads over their international existence. Where would you rank Klopp among Premier League managers? Is he above the likes of Pep, Jose or Sir Alex Ferguson? God. Is he above Sir Alex Ferguson? No, of course not. Is he above Pep Guardiola? I don't know how to answer that, because I believe that everything to do with Manchester City is tainted and everything that they've won should have a caveat with it. So I don't know how to answer the Pep part. Mourinho, I think he'd be above Mourinho, but I'm sure other people outside of Liverpool would disagree with me and say what Mourinho did with that Chelsea team was incredible. But again, you're talking about somebody who had a blank checkbook there. So I would say he's top 5. That's probably my honest opinion. I got to be respectful to what others have achieved as well and not just have my Liverpool blinkers on. But he doesn't get into a conversation with Sir Alex Ferguson. You can talk about Wenger, but Wenger didn't win a European Cup, but you make arguments he had the Invincibles and won many league titles and produced some fantastic Arsenal teams. After that, I think you can argue, people will talk about Pep. I refuse to give him any credit with that Manchester City team for obvious reasons. And after that then, Jose, in and around that period, depends what you like. Look, I just think he's the best Liverpool manager of my lifetime. That's the only way I can really look at it. My bad, Craig. I meant the more offensive of a centre mid pair, the creator. His figures from right back show that he can do creativity. His ability is insane for a right back. I agree, not a 6. I explained it badly. All good, my man. Abdullah said, I strongly agree with you on letting the contract situation run down the way they are. Massive distractions on and off the pitch. We can't have an Mbappe contract situation at the club unfold. And I know, Abdullah, that's what frightens me, mate, because we've got 3 players in this situation, and the likelihood of all 3 being resolved over the next month or 2, I don't know what it is, but I agree with you. Going into a situation where any of these dudes could be in that Mbappe scenario, it doesn't seem like good business for the club. I don't, especially with Trent. I mean, it's lunacy to let Trent get to the last year of his deal. The Mighty Red says, thank you for the stream. Sad day, my sister dying yesterday. She was 51. Mate, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Mighty Reds, all of our love, mate, to you and your family. That's, wow, that's so sad. I'm really sorry. My own father died at 45, so it's way too young, isn't it? 51, mate. I'm so sorry for you and your family, and I hope there are better days ahead for you guys, and I hope that you look after each other through this very difficult period. And you know, we're here if you want to come in and vent, have a joke. You know, we're here for you. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Sorry to hear about that to Keith, and loads of love hearts and condolences in the chat as well from people, and bless you all. It's a beautiful sentiment, and I'm really sorry, mate, for what your family's gone through. So difficult. What's this one? There was one interesting post from Adam Crafton that said every season Arne Slot slightly modifies how his team build up from the back so as not to become predictable. I like that, because if there's one thing I think we would all agree on with Jurgen, is that we have at times been too predictable. You know, you heard Karim Benzema spoke about how they knew the gap was going to be between Liverpool centre backs when they played us. We've seen other teams set up and know exactly to look to try and get into that space vacated by a right back, whether it be Trent, Gomez or Conor Bradley. So I'm glad that Arne Slot does mix things up going into every season in that regard, because you don't want to become predictable. Lisa said, I like it as well. Don't want teams figuring us out. Do you know what, Lisa? Do you know what one of my favourite times was? Remember when Kloppo first came in and we had Lallana, Firmino, Mane, Salah, and we were just, I don't know how else to say this, but batshit crazy. It was like the red arrows going everywhere. Firmino was making runs, Salah was dipping in here, Mane was flying in there, Lallana was press resistant in midfield at times. It was some of the most chaotically beautiful football. You know, the season where we knocked City out of the Champions League, the season where we were just on a mad one, is the only way I can talk about it. I loved it. 10-15 minute period and the games were over. You know, we mightn't have that 10 or 15 minute period straight at the start of a game, but there would always be this little period where we switch it on and just pull away from teams. And I miss that. I miss that. This season we've looked anything but that. You know, we found ways to rescue games at the death, and, you know, the lads kept going until the end of so many games. But I miss those times where we could just blow teams away, like Arsenal have done at times this season, and City have done as well. That was a hallmark in the early days under Jurgen Klopp that I very much enjoyed. Vilmer said, thanks for answering. I feel like CDM market is quite bad. Do you have any preferred options? No. I gotta be honest with you, dude. I haven't spent much time thinking about transfers recently because I didn't know what system we were going to be playing. You know, for a while we thought if it was Alonso or Amarim, we were thinking maybe are we going to go to a 3-4-3? Are we going to need wing backs? Are we going to need 3 centre backs? Then we've only recently in the last 3 or 4 days found out that it'll be Arne Slot, and he's going to probably play with either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. So I really didn't give much thought. to the transfer window, other than a centre-back. And at centre-back, I can reel off a few names for you, but I really haven't kept up to date with the best young, up-and-coming or already established 21 to 24-year-old DMs. I haven't really paid much heed to it, you know. I still stand over. I think if Caicedo signed for us, his situation would be different. Would I take 100 million for Trent from Madrid? Alex definitely would. No, I don't think I would. I would have taken it probably 18 months ago, but I don't think I would now. So anyway, I'm going to ask the chat that. It doesn't really matter who the money's from, does it? As long as he's going outside the Prem. But so, Barry, we did that poll and we've nearly had 1,000 votes on it, and 77% believe that Trent's best position or the best option for Trent is to move him into midfield. So, what was your question? 100 million on Trent? Let's see. Let's ask that. Okay. Right, there you go. We'll leave that run until the end of the stream and we'll see what people say. So, would you take 100 million? Oh, I put in an extra N there. Would you take 100 million from the Madrid for Trent? This is why I shouldn't be allowed to type stuff out. Imagine this team with Hendo and Milner's leadership, said Abdullah. That's one thing I would say we've looked like we've lacked a bit of recently, mate, is leadership on the pitch. What are your thoughts on Salah staying? I don't know if I believe it, is my honest thoughts, mate. Whatever happens, happens, and if he stays, we get behind him. But I'm dubious that the club have leaked this out. Because the club usually just don't do that type of stuff, you know. Unless they feel like they want to control a narrative, they usually go about their business quietly behind the scenes. So to see David Ornstein, Paul Joyce and others run with a story today that seems pretty choreographed, I'm dubious about my belief that he's going to get offered a new deal. You know, if he does, let's see what happens. But I still think it's just Liverpool maintaining they want to keep him so as they're not weakening their negotiating standpoint. But let's see what happens. Wouldn't mind if we sell, wouldn't mind if we don't sell. For me, I think of the three players whose contracts are going to be running out, the Trent's a no-brainer to me to get that new deal in front of him. You know, I understand people feel like there are deficiencies in his game and certain things, but I think all in all, I can't imagine Trent not playing for Liverpool. I just can't imagine him not being in and around the club. And I wouldn't take 100 million off Real Madrid for him because I don't think we'd be able to find anybody with the ball striking, passing ability and the love of the club that would come close. So for me, it would be a no. I wouldn't take the money. Trent crosses like Kevin De Bruyne, Odegaard. He's too good not to be moved into an area of the pitch he could really hurt teams in. He's a genius on the ball. Grim Reaper said Trent is priceless. Craig, didn't Klopp have to fight Edwards to get Salah a new deal when he got his last contract? Why would Edwards keep Salah now? I don't know on that regard. I know he had to fight to get Hendo a deal, but I don't know whether he had to butt heads with Michael Edwards over Salah's extension. And I'll be really honest with you, mate. When Salah signed that contract, I felt like it was a no-brainer to give him the money. And if there was a division, I would have certainly sided with giving him that new contract because I said it at the time, I'll say it again. If anyone deserved to have the wage structure broken for them, it was Mohamed Salah. And £350,000 at that time felt fair. It felt fair. So yeah, I certainly think the right decision was to give him that contract when he got it. I say Trent will get a new contract last minute for his active one. FSG knows he will want a hefty pay rise. They'll want new players in and then have to worry about Trent's contract situation. See, I just hope we don't get complacent. I hope we're not taking him for granted, because it genuinely is ludicrous to me that he's in this situation. Like, coming into his prime right now and we're letting him get into the last year of his deal, it seems stupid to me as an outsider, somebody who's not inside the club. It just feels like the wrong decision to even allow the situation to get to this point. Keith Wright, thank you, mate, for your super sticker. I think we can safely say that nobody wants to be selling Trent for 100 million. We've had 500 votes on it and a pretty quick poll, and 75% of people wouldn't take the money and want to keep Trent, and I'm definitely in that 75%. Craig, I think Camavinga feels like an exciting, talented CDM, but it'd be very expensive. A huge positive is that he speaks good English. I don't think Real Madrid would be stupid enough to move on Camavinga. Tchouaméni perhaps, but again, I don't see there's value there. And Tchouaméni, I still can't believe the deal that Madrid got with Camavinga. Like, it's a great signing, and he's a really, really good player. Do you think Kelleher will leave? If Alisson stays, yes, I do think he will leave. I hope he doesn't, but I can understand if he does. He's 25 at the moment. He's had a very good campaign with Liverpool where he's played about half the season thereabouts, and looked solid. So I think the ball's in his court. If he wants to stay at the club, I'm sure the club will be happy for him to stay. But, if he wants to move on and the club get an offer that's acceptable, I don't think the club will stand in his way either. It's just one of those situations where I can totally understand everyone's perspective on it, because it's tough being a backup keeper, and, you're playing football for a reason. You don't want to sit on a bench, even at a club like Liverpool, for the best part of your career. So I understand whatever happens with him, but selfishly, I'd like him to stay. Shoe Trent money. FS for feck's sake, said Liz. Yeah, it was pretty clear, Liz, that nobody wanted to take the 100 mil. I'm happy to put up polls that people ask me to do. Thoughts on Andre from Fluminense? My thoughts are that I think it's mad that he's still in Fluminense and nobody bought him. Firstly, he wanted to stay there and win the title. He did. Then he wanted to go and win Copa Libertadores. He did. Then he wanted to go and play in the Club World Cup. He did. But he's still there. Fulham were linked, never materialised. We were linked, never materialised. So I've no idea what's going on with him. Der Schlim said, I love Mo, but honestly, we should bite the bullet and sell him to sign Mbappe at all costs. Well, Mbappe's already pretty much going to Madrid, mate. I'm sure that's all probably signed and sealed behind the scenes. Do you think there's a lack of personality and character in players these days? I think they're mollycoddled too much. I think, and this could be because I'm a bit older, I'm a bit more old school in that. I think players are sometimes too soft if they're shouted at. And I guess there's no right or wrong answer, because every player responds differently. I think a good man manager is able to utilise all tools in his toolbox. So if a player needs a rocket up the backside, and that's how they get motivated, by challenging them or fronting up to them, that can work. If somebody needs an arm around the shoulder and a bit of encouragement, that can work. But yes, I do think, and I admire Liverpool's stance on how we have certain things in place for people in the academy. They can't drive cars over a certain engine size. They can't be too flash. They can only earn X amount of money. I think it's important that people are given groundings in life, and that everything just doesn't come too quickly. The amount of footballers that we're seeing have sexual assault cases against them, as an example, truly mystifies me, because I just, somebody who has everything at their disposal and yet still pushes those boundaries of not understanding no. It's tough. You can't talk about everything in a sweeping statement, but overall, I think sometimes a little bit of harsh love, a little bit of a father figure in a dressing room isn't a bad thing. Kelleher to replace Joe Hart, what's his value? Without trying to be rude, I don't think Celtic could afford him. I think you're talking about 25 to 30 million pound for Kelleher, and I don't think Celtic can afford that. Not trying to be belittling. Craig, should we have high expectations on Arne Slot? I don't know. I don't know what the fair expectations are. I can say to you how I'm looking at it is, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm ready to get behind the new manager and support him. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, but I don't know what's a realistic expectation, because I feel that you should start every year, no matter if you're Liverpool, Luton, you want to win the league. That's the goal at the start of every year. You're in 4 competitions if you're in Europe. Let's go win them all. And you work backwards from there. So I think getting out of the Champions League group stage and getting to a quarter final and making sure you're back in the tournament the following year, that would be an acceptable first year. You know, making sure we had Champions League football again and doing decent in the competition. If you can pick up a domestic cup, great. Do I think we're going to challenge for the league title next year? Probably not. I think Arsenal are going to strengthen again. City probably going to do the same. And I think we are probably playing a bit of catch up there. And we have upheaval as well this summer. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, but I don't know what's a realistic expectation. I've heard rival fans saying that we'll be mid-table with Slot because he isn't a sexy signing. Would you expect anything else from them? Is probably the fairest way I can answer that. You know, we could sign the love child of Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Johan Cruyff, and Carlo Ancelotti, and somebody from rival fan base would say he's a fraud. You know, it doesn't really matter to me what they think, because they don't have any hope for us to do well. You know, they don't want Liverpool to succeed. So, of course, they're going to undermine everything we do, because truly, I think they undermine it because they're worried. But I don't care about their opinion, because they don't have any want for us to succeed. I care about your opinion and the opinion of my fellow Liverpool fans, because we want the club to succeed. Barry, thank you so much, mate. Has gifted 50 Anfield Agenda memberships. Incredibly kind of you, Barry. Really, really, really brilliant. And I think that'll be greatly appreciated by everybody who's received those memberships as well, mate. Thank you. Right, we have 675 likes. If you have a second, please do hit that like button for us, and let's see if we can get that close to 1,000. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed as well, please do. Another good stream tonight, my friends. And tomorrow, I have a question for you. Hang on, was that? Sorry, Barry, I need to just check something here. Yeah, it's just multiplied up twice. Thank you, Barry. Appreciate you, mate. Question. Tomorrow, Champions League semi-final day. Do you want me to stream at about 6:15 so we can finish up before the Champions League semi-final, or do you want me to stream at 8:30? And I think a little quick poll just on this so we know what time to stream at tomorrow. Right, pick one of those two. Obviously, the Champions League is on tomorrow. The semi-finals are on Tuesday, Wednesday, which is why I was asking you guys which one you'd like me to do. You know, do you want us to come on early and then everybody can still watch the Champions League, or do you want me to come on at 8:30 as normal, and we can keep you up to date with what's going on in the Champions League? I mean, I'm easy either way. I just want to make sure we do whatever you guys would like. So we'll leave that poll running. We have a few minutes left on tonight's stream, so let's finish with a few quick-fire Q&As. Fire some questions into the chat, and I'll answer them. Anything you want to know about me, anything you want to know about Liverpool Football Club that you want my opinion on, bang away into the chat, and I'll do my best to get through them over the next few minutes. Craig, if Darwin doesn't fix his finishing next season, would you trigger the buyback clause for Solanke? No, I wouldn't. I don't like revisiting players like that. Although I have said before, if we sold Kelleher, I'd like a buyback clause, but I think that's different because it's a keeper. No, I wouldn't. Did your son go to good counsel? No. My son goes to Educate Together in Gorey. What do you think about Elise to Liverpool? I'd have no problems welcoming Michael Elise to Liverpool if that was something that the club wanted to do. You'd have to have a little concern around his injury track record this season, but as a player, he's brilliant. Who do I want to win the Champions League? Dortmund. Don't think they will, but I'd like Dortmund to win it. If somebody paid me 10 million to support United, would I do it? Tough question, man, because I'll tell you my calculation. My calculation would be, do I think Anfield Agenda will make me a millionaire over the course of the next 5 years? And if I could agree in my head that Anfield Agenda will bring me in £1 million or so over the next 5 years, then I would sacrifice the remainder of that 9 million to stay supporting Liverpool. But if it was the difference between pretending I support Manchester United for 10 million quid and my family having a great life, you know, I'd look after the family, bro. You know, the same as anybody else. 10 million quid is 10 million quid. I don't know how it would work out in theory, though, you know. How do I pretend to be supporting United when secretly, deep down, I know I don't care about them? What was the last movie I saw? I watched about half of the new Roadhouse movie. So that's probably the last one I saw. I don't watch many movies. I'm a documentary type person, but I think, yeah, half of the new Roadhouse movie is the last thing I watched. Which striker would you get right now if you could choose, and who do you think? What would you think is realistic? I do love the idea of Isak at Liverpool. I think it'd be great. I think he'd be a good fit. Other than that, I don't really know. I've too many others who would want to come in. I think he'd be great. Real or Bayern? Who do I think is going to win, or who do I want to win? I think Real Madrid are going to win. Be serious, Craig. Could not be walking around with a Man United shirt on. With 10 mil in the bank, Mark. Are you mad? Come on now. Let's be realistic, dude. I live in a council house. You're telling me, Craig, I wouldn't take 10 million to walk around in the United shirt and make sure that my family are sound for the next generation or two? So, well, come on now. 10 million quid? That's a lot of money, mate. I'm never going to see 10 million quid in my lifetime. Did I watch Don't Fuck With Cats? Yes, I did. Really good. Really good. Yeah, I did watch it. Really, really good. Do I talk to your missus about my missus about Liverpool? I do, but I don't think she really listens. I do. Yeah, I would say stuff to her. Like, I'd call her in if something pops up on the screen. I go, look at this. But, you know, I think she just pays lip service and go, oh, yeah. Which League of Ireland team would I support? Shelbourne. Shelbourne would be the one that my family would look out for. I grew up closest to Bray Wanderers. I played in the Carlisle grounds. When we played in the Wicklow League under 8s and 9s, we had some cup finals in there, but probably Shelbourne. Am I a boxing or a UFC guy? 100% boxing, But I think it's destroying itself with the judging. It's becoming embarrassing now in boxing. But I've always been a boxing person. What car do I drive? We upgraded it actually. Bought our first new car as a married couple. We bought a Renault Arcana. The hybrid one, the top spec one. It's all blacked out, black alloys, black Renault badges, gold on the front of it. It's really nice. It's really nice, but it's a 1.6 automatic hybrid, and yes, it's lovely. It's the first. I said we're married 17 years, together 24, and this is our first new family car. So yeah, it's very nice. YouTubers and boxing. I don't know, mate. I'm not saying I am a boxer. Somebody asked me, do I watch boxing or YouTube or boxing or UFC? And I've watched boxing my whole life. It was the thing. My dad knew quite a lot of boxers. Like Joe Egan was one of my dad's good friends. Joe Egan used to work for Delta Airlines, and when he was younger, and he used to get me some signatures from like Paul McGrath and stuff like that. So I've been around boxing gyms with my dad and stuff growing up a lot, and I've always loved boxing. Do I mind all these questions? Not at all. No. If I don't want to answer something, sure, I'll say no. But nah, have at it, man. Ask away. There's no amount of money to make me support United. Nobody said I actually had to support them, mate. All I had to do was pretend to support them for the 10 million. It doesn't mean inside I'm still screaming every time that they concede laughter, but I mean, I guarantee if somebody handed you a cheque for £10 million, you'd very quickly put that United shirt on, bro. Come on. 10 million quid. Would I say Diaz has zero end product? No, but he doesn't have enough end product. I don't agree with the zero statement, but I do think he could do with more end product. Pancakes or waffles? Pancakes. But I take both. Do I follow the GAA? Not really. No, around championship time I'll keep an eye on it, but not really. Who's my favourite boxer? At the moment, probably Terence Crawford, probably same as most others. Of all time, I've thought about this question quite a bit, and I could give you the answer that most others would give you, your Tysons, your Mayweathers, but I got to be honest, probably Joe Calzaghe. I've always admired Joe Calzaghe an awful lot, and his record is phenomenal, and I don't think he gets mentioned anywhere near enough, and I think he would have fought anyone. It's a shame he never got the Froch fight sorted out, but I think Calzaghe is probably the answer for me. Have I bought a house yet? I saw a video of you saying that you wanted to achieve it. No, we haven't bought a house yet. We're hoping to buy this house in the next, I don't know, our business needs a couple of years published accounts and stuff, but I hope to buy this house that we're in the next year or so at some point. Hopefully the business keeps going well and it's possible. Wisdom/quote of the day. Right, let me give you a few quotes. A few things that I would say to myself is, a few good things I was told over the years is, never take a no from somebody who hasn't got the authority to give you a yes in the first place. But there's one thing that I read every day when I get up. Every single day I read the same quote out, and I think I've read it out in the stream before. It's from Warren Buffett, and it's helped me with the channel over the years when I've nearly given up. I keep coming back to this quote and reading it out, and it makes me refocus, and here it is. It's work hard in silence, do what you have to do, ignore the drama and negativity surrounding you, let success be your noise. That's my little mantra that I read out whenever I'm feeling bad, or whenever I feel like I want to quit, or I'm frustrated at trolling or stuff like that. I look at that and I read it and I just think, okay, let's go again. Documentary to watch. Icarus was a really good documentary that I watched on Netflix about doping programs in sport and cycling in particular. That's definitely worth a watch. I seen Calzaghe fight in the flesh at the Millennium Stadium. He didn't get enough credit because he's Welsh. I'm Welsh, not a knock of the Welsh. Yeah, I never thought he got enough credit either, mate. And I was always very, very much a fan of Joe Calzaghe. Favourite song? Don't know if I have one. I think for songs, it depends on what mood you're in and what you need the song to do for you. So, weirdly, when I'm sad, I listen to sad music to make me feel better because I feel like it touches that part of my soul and makes me come to the conclusion that everything will be okay. If I'm driving, I usually want something a bit more upbeat. So I guess if I had to pick one, Champagne Supernova, maybe. Yeah, probably Champagne Supernova. Favorite actor? I'm old school, so probably Robert De Niro. Do I believe in ghosts and UFOs? Ghosts, no. UFOs, I wouldn't say I believe in it, but I wouldn't rule it out. See, while I don't believe in ghosts, I do believe in energy and positive energy. I'm not a religious person, but I do feel that positive energy and positive reinforcement and surrounding yourself with positive people can bring positive results. But UFOs, I think I'd be open-minded about it, in all honesty. I can't say for certain that they don't exist. Opinions on Kanye West as an artist and as a person. As an artist, I think he's incredible. Yeah, Kanye West's music for me has been amazing. As a person, I find it sad that he seems so disturbed inside. I mean, I feel sad that that's the case for him, because he's clearly a very intelligent person, very creative person. I just feel like, for whatever reason, he isn't as well as he should be. Right, my friends, I'm going to say goodnight because it is 10:30. It's been another cool 2-hour stream, so appreciate you. Do drop a like before you head off. Let's check this poll. So 64% want me to come on at 8:30 tomorrow, and that means I will see you at 8:30 tomorrow. So thank you very much for your support as always, guys. Really appreciate it. Do drop a like, hit the subscribe button before you head off if you haven't done so, and I'll see you tomorrow. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.